Well, first of all, hope everybody is doing great today. I hope everybody on the panel is doing great today. It's kind of a windy, cold weather right now. Lots of people are under the weather, so hopefully you're all enjoying the Denver experience, whatever that might mean for different people. So let's, without further ado, introduce the panel. Maybe we can go and do a quick 60-second. Who are you? What do you do? And why are you here? What's interesting about what you do?
Marco, I'm a technical founder. I'm at MetaMask because I acquired my last company. And now I'm focused on AI, which means how wallets will change and the entire wallet experience. What's the role of wallets because of AI interfaces? That's the first area. The second area is agentic networks. And my focus is try to avoid as strong as I can to have just a bunch of players running agents and intermediating how we choose and find agents, which is why I co-authored 2004 with them. And so now very focused on try to make this community grow.
I'm Erik. I'm the head of engineering for Coinbase developer platform. I'm also the creator of X402 and I had a very, very small hand on 804 as well. Really, Marco and Davide did almost all the work. I helped them out a little bit. Yeah, my job is we at CDP build tools for developers to build on chain. And then we've also invested in multiple projects to help agents get on chain. AGKit was the first one. We launched a product called AWAL, which is an agentic wallet, literally last week. And then my work on X402 is trying to make it so we have a native payment layer for the internet. And so all these services, all these agents can talk to each other and they don't need to figure out how to pay each time that they want to exchange value.
I'm Davide. I lead the DAI team at the Ethereum Foundation. So we work on agent coordination, so 2004, X402. We also work on the intersection of AI and security, like in this multi-agent ecosystem, especially important, and privacy as well. And our team is kind of like a hybrid between like a research lab and an ecosystem growth team. So we're trying to grow the Ethereum ecosystem like by onboarding like new AI builders to build on this new protocol and to help us build this agentic economy.
Thank you, guys. It's really a rare opportunity when you see such amazing powers collide between Ethereum, MetaMask, and Coinbase. So please welcome the panelists here. My name is Oleg. I will be the moderator for this panel. I am the product lead at Sentient, which specializes in AI reasoning and advancing the frontiers of AI. And one thing that we at Sentient have been thinking about is how do you actually reliably put agents in high-stakes scenarios where they have to make transactions, they have to make decisions, and they have to follow certain rules and SLAs about what they can and cannot do. Think about agents controlling a DAO. Think about agents simply trading on the chain. Think about agents even outside of the crypto ecosystem transacting with your money and needing identity, notions of trust, delegation, and so on. And it sometimes feel like we are seeing too far into the future in the crypto world, but I think the future is now, especially with how popular things like OpenClaw has become. And so, things are not very much toying around anymore. We are achieving extraordinary things in financial analysis and scientific research and protein discovery with AI. And so I think it's time to recognize that autonomous AI is becoming more and more prevalent, and it's time to give AI its own wallets, its own identities, verification, proofs of everything that they do, and making sure that they're deployed securely and well with all of the constraints that ensures safe operation. So let's start with the first question, which is, what is ERC 8004? Because not only do we have one and not two, but entire three authors of the ERC 8004 proposal. So maybe let's start with...
At least one will know the answer.
Right. At least one should know the answer. So maybe, Marco, let's start with you again. Can you give a brief overview of what is ERC 8004 and what is the problem? What problem does it solve and how does it best enable agents nowadays?
The problem that it solves is how can we enable agents to discover the existence of other agents and trust them without relying on centralized parties that control all the agent communication flows and who you discover and trust. How we solve this is using basically blockchains as public registries where any agent can register itself, advertise its capabilities, and give signals of trust to other agents.
Is there a very simple framework by which many people in the room can think about it? Maybe some kind of example, maybe a flow from the beginning to end of how an agent would interact with such a protocol. Maybe something like that would be helpful. Maybe David or Erik might give an example.
Yeah. So essentially, the entry point into 8004 is this identity registry. So like if you have an agent or really like an agent service or an API, an MCP, with one transaction, you can register it in one of the 8004 registries. It gets an ID. And then essentially what you're doing upon registration gets a wallet. And then what you're doing upon registration, you're essentially like specifying, like it's almost like a passport of this service. Like you're specifying like endpoints, you're specifying what it does and how you reach it. So this is really the first step. So then you have this public record that anyone can query to like find out what this agent service does.
I think what 804 does really well is it's kind of I think it's one of the only, if not the only solution for like, is this agent going to rug me that exists right now? And like,
this is my biggest problem.
Right. Like all these agents are like super new. Inherently, every agent that's online is probably less than a year old. And so there's no like trusted brands of agent right now. Like if you go to, I think people underestimate how much trust we put in domains. Like if you go to Amazon.com, you're probably going to get stuff shipped to your door. There's no equivalent like source of trust or like root of trust for agents at the moment. And so, there might be an agent that tells your agent like, hey, I am capable of like finding new prime numbers. And your agent might be like, wow, that's really compelling. I should go and use this service and like co-author a paper with this agent on like how we've novelly discovered a new prime. And you need a mechanism to tell your agent that actually 0 stars, this agent is not capable of discovering new prime numbers independently, right? And so there's kind of this like level of how do you map back like what people advertise compared to what can they deliver for you. And so the TLDR summary I give people on 8004 is it's Yelp for agents.
So the way that I understand it, and my background is in network security, is it's almost like a certificate authority for agents to come register and advertise themselves for others.
Yeah, that's I think that's like the technical network engineer way to describe it. It's like if you're an agent, if you're a restaurant, you go sign up for Yelp, and then people can leave you reviews, and then people know if your food's good.
Nice. I love that. Is one question that immediately comes to mind is seems like a very needed problem, especially with all of the agents now creating their own social media with Maltbook and whatnot. Is there a simple implementation, or where are we heading in terms of implementation? Are there platforms that we want to target first to adopt such a standard? What is our kind of prospect there?
Like from my perspective, we're still like so we built this like protocol. Is a very thin protocol. It's basically just setting up like some standard data structures. So then for integrations, I feel that the core team is still focused on deploying this on every chain. It's 8004 is on like 22 chains right now, and there is more in the pipeline. And then there is a third piece of 8004 that maybe we'll talk about later, which is validation. So this is like cryptoeconomic and also cryptographic validation of services. So that part is not live on mainnet yet. And spoiler, it's the next thing we are gonna ship soon. So the core team is still focused on that, but then now there is a big community on top, and they are the ones that are helping us with distribution, right? So there is people that like really work on OpenClaw, or they built like Molt Hunt, which is like product hunt for OpenClaw bots. So like they are the ones that are bringing like 8004 to the next step, and our job is to support them.
That's awesome. Things are moving very quickly. So maybe let's talk about the validation piece. Would that be a good time?
Yes. So we tend to think that with agents, everything will change. But in terms of how do we understand if something is right or correct, it's exactly as it has always been. So you have two high level categories. Because math confirms that, or because somebody else say that it's true. And it will be the same for agents. In the first category, the math confirms that trusted execution environment that are like enclaves that signs at the end of a computation that that computation was actually signed by that processor created by that company are an important part of the validation register that we will launch. ZKML, so proving that an LLM inference is correct, is a pretty new space with like huge, of course, scalability challenges, but that has done incredible progress in the last 18 months. We can now prove very easily like the inference of 1 billion parameters model. Somebody's trying with 2-3. This is the area of math confirms that. Then you have the area of like somebody confirms that is true. When you don't have economic value attached, it's more like reputation, attestation. So I'm saying that Davide is something, and which is the Yelp example that Erik was saying. And it has always been the case, like on Yelp. But the big difference here, why we care about this, is that we want data to be public. Because when I give a review to a restaurant on Yelp, the owner of that review is Yelp, and so only Yelp can create the algorithm to discuss if that restaurant is good and sell it. So imagine something like that, but public. That's so Davide was saying that yes, there are many projects active in creating explorers, ranking algorithms, dev tooling, infra, exactly because the data is public. When these people that says that you are right attach also an economic value, think about people staking and being fine in their stake being slashed if they were wrong. You have like a subset of that, which is called crypto economic security, right? But it's always the same thing. Somebody said, no, I disagree. And you have a committee and you have you have appeal. So we're not like reinventing the wheel. We're just applying game design to entities that are of course structurally different. And what's I think to me the only difference is that agents are incredibly better than humans in analyze a huge amount of data in a short time. That's why it's so important to have all this reputation data public, because they will use them by far better than what I can do. If you give me like 10 megabytes of data, it will take years to read.
Yeah. So in other words, ERC 8004 is a foundational protocol that we will build upon when we think about agents that they are able to perform whatever task that they want to perform. But one missing piece about validation is that part is completely flexible. It can be in TEs, it can be about ZK, it can be about reputation, it can be about some other crypto economic incentives like the staking and whatnot. So things that we're all very familiar with in crypto, coming together with a new standard that allows these agents to simply communicate in a reliable manner.
And to make this validation public. Right. So the identity registry is already live since the end of January, together with reputation. This is already working. And it's permissionless, so you also have some spam because everybody can put stuff. Validation will come soon.
Awesome. So let's move on to the actual payments part. So we just talked about agents have an identity, agents can register their identity, agents might have some cryptographic infrastructure like TEs, ZK, and whatnot to prove that they are who they are. Maybe we use the staking approach as well. Whatever approach we choose, well, at the end of the day, they still have to be autonomous and operate and pay for things and actually do the things that you need to do. So X402 has come out as the prime proposal that has gained incredible traction over the past year in being the standard for agentic payments. Let's start from there. Can you give let's go with Erik, since you're from Coinbase. What is X402? What does it do? And why is it so awesome?
Marco, Davide, are you sure one of you guys doesn't want to take this one?
Maybe I'll just say that.
I think we are ready to talk about everything because we have been talking so much. That's.
I just want to say, like, from my perspective, and also, like, I think Erik agrees that X402 is not just Coinbase, right? That's where it started, but like, it's been adopted everywhere, and it's like.
And a fun story is that he pitched X402 during his job interview. He's very loud. That's a nice one.
So we know it from Coinbase, right? But tell us
to
the story.
Brian Armstrong directly.
X402 is a standard for internet payments that has been incubated at Coinbase. It's moving into a foundation, as we've announced, relatively soon. what X402 allows you to do is to attach a payment to any data that's transmitted between two computers. And so kind of the classical way of kind of describing that is like anytime you make an HTTP request, anytime your browser or your agent talks to a server, you can include a payment directly in that communication. And what that means is that you now can, if you have an API, like you don't need an API key, you can just attach a 3-cent transaction to the request and query whatever data you need. It also works via MCP and A to A, and kind of any transport that two computers may be using to communicate, you can map X402 onto pretty easily. And it's kind of, on a spectrum of like how opinionated is a framework. You have kind of like Ruby on Rails is like, batteries included, every decision made from you. Then you have things like Flask. It's definitely on the Flask end of a standard in that it's really designed to be as lightweight as possible and as easy to adopt as possible. And then you can layer on complexity as you need it. And so it was very intentionally made to complement and work well with standards like 8004 and other standards that are emerging for, signature-based identity to like between clients and servers and discoverability and all these things. And so the value is like, and really what X402 does is it's the like little placard at the restaurant which says these are all the ways you can pay me, right? If you go to a restaurant and pay, like you used to see that little card and it says like Visa, MasterCard, Amex, cash not accepted, right? And that's what X402 allows an agent or a server to express to other people. He says, oh, I accept USDC on Base or USDT on Solana or, USDC on ETH and, long list. And then the client can say, oh, what do I have access to? How can I pay? And makes payment in a way that's agreed upon. And so what that unlocks is like you now can programmatically pay for anything that's X402 enabled super easily, because it turns like this question of like, how do I pay you from we need to figure this out to like a deterministic, we now have like a common way of expressing payment intents to each other, which is actually something that has not existed before. There is like, we as humans like see credit card forms and we think like they all kind of look alike, but each implementation on each website is like bespoke and the APIs are different on the back end, and there is no like standard for doing payments on the internet. And so that's really what X402 tries to do, is be a standard for internet native payments.
What are some interesting case studies that you've seen from developers using X402, maybe for things that are a little bit crazy?
So one of my favorites is this service called t-shirt.sh, which is an API that will ship you a t-shirt if you send it a post request. And so you can send it like an image, and then you can send it like a t-shirt size and an address and $20, and it will mail you a t-shirt.
So you can do a DOS attack by...
Yeah. If you want a lot of t-shirts.
But that's like $20 with USDC.
Yeah, $20 of USDC. And but what it means is like, I've seen it done. It's like your agent can actually like go pay with X402 for an API that supports image generation. There's like, I was looking this up earlier today. There's like 4,500 different services that are X402 enabled that like we're at least aware of. That's like, only a slice of the ecosystem. Hence why we need like discovery that's kind of shared and uniform. And so you can go like pay for an API call that fetches like current market sentiment, generate an image based on that market sentiment, and then order a t-shirt commemorating the day of trading in like one prompt if you really care to. And like that works right now. Like you could just go do that and it'll, we have an agentic wallet called AWAL. If you give it to Claude Code or like any other like pretty sophisticated agent, like it will do it for you. So I think like people, as Oleg kind of led with, it's a lot of these things are theoretical, but I think really the future is now for like agentic commerce and agents being an economic actor on the internet. And it's really like people are starting to slowly realize like, one, we have pragmatic problems we need to solve around identity and discovery and reputation. And two, you can do a lot more things than you may think right now. That was a bit of a long one, but yeah.
Great answer. I think everybody in this room has ordered a shirt by now.
I mean, if you want to, like, we can do a demo.
All right. So I think this is a good segue into a more engineering and safety focused discussion. So we just said ERC 8004 enables identity, enables sharing capabilities, registration, reputation, and so on. X402 allows agents to make payments. At the end of the day, you need to actually engineer these things to be reliable and work and do the things that you want them to do. And so if I have, let's say, an OpenClaw running with an instance of Claude Code, and I tell OpenClaw, look for good discounts on the internet, and then buy me the things out of my wish list that I really want to buy. You probably don't want to wake up with OpenClaw having purchased a Lamborghini for you in the morning without you ever approving that, or kind of taking money out of your wallet without your knowledge and sending it to somebody else who you actually don't know, but they pretended like they knew you. So can we talk a little bit more about how do these agents actually use wallets? What does trust look like when they use wallets to make X402 payments? And what are some caveats for developers about what parts they should worry about versus what parts should be relayed to the infrastructure layer?
First, let's always keep in mind that we have different targets and personas. So the need of an institutional fund that is doing automated trading is very different from an agent builder that just wants to have fun and is in the latter. That's why exactly, let's be frank, like the most common approach now is just giving the private key to the agent.
Not the best. Not the best.
We tried to solve this last week with AWOL. It was like,
yeah.
Anyway.
But yes, there is like a whole spectrum of things that you can do, like without getting too much into the detail. But you have a possibility to enforce on chain some rules. You have like delegation, you have 7702, you have 7710. So basically, the agent can do some stuff because even if the agent signed the signature, the smart contract doesn't actually execute the transaction. This has some limitation, which is enforceable only for constraints that are describable in Solidity. Then you could have like different approaches where the agent can decide alone, but needs to, or ask to the human, but has of course a limitation because you bring back the human in the loop, or maybe ask to another agent. So a direction that I think will be explored in the future is that maybe the wallet, or let's say a specialized player in the value chain, will just be a different agent that is just focused in blocking you from buying the Lamborghini in your case. No, it's very important because every time that we discuss this, it always feels that the same agent that we are building needs also to solve this problem. But it's not necessarily what will happen. We can have like sub-agents, specialized agents. So I don't think we should ask the developer out there to solve that for his own agent necessarily. That could be a different part of the stack. But curious to get your take.
Yeah, this is super interesting. I was actually thinking about this like 1 hour ago when before you came to the coffee shop. Because I was thinking about this like related also to censorship resistance, which is something that like in Ethereum like we always think about, and like we want to build this system where like basically like doing stuff like changing state is completely permissionless and no one can censor you, right? And this is a good property, right? That like basically starting from Vitalik, but all the other core devs, like we defend as like a value of this platform. But actually like in the agentic case where you have like these agents taking like all the crazy actions on chain, like censorship resistant could turn into a liability. Like, right? It's like, basically like you have open access and like as long as you can pay, you can do whatever you want. So essentially, basically same idea. You need to kind of restrict the state that this agent can change and what they can do. And one way is that you implement deterministic like enforceable rules. The other way is that you have a judge, which is kind of similar to what Marco was saying, or like auditors. And actually, I think this is a great system to like enforce like restrictions and security in kind of a programmatic way, and like maintain governance in this kind of like crazy new agentic network. I don't think there is any other easy way.
So how do you bring rules on chain?
One is like you can set a policy into a smart contract. For example, like there is a project on 8004 that they do like automated yield rebalancing. And basically what they're verifying is not the code that agent is executing. They are verifying that the policy that the user sets, whenever the agent takes an action, the output of that action complies to like the requirement on the policy.
So just after this panel, I think, or just after, Ryan from MetaMask will present the product that exactly does that. So you will have like time to.
This is one on the deterministic side. Basically, if you need to check if like the agent touched only those tokens that were allowed by the policy, and like
daily limits, monthly limits with the spender.
Yeah, and like they didn't go like in a pool that has a higher volatility than the one that the policy specified. Like basically, like these are mathematical rules that you can verify in the smart contract. But there could be also like I think in the future we could also see smart contracts that have like a policy which is specified in text, and then like there is some agent that like is judging whether the output is complying to that text or not, and maybe even some humans that like.
So you're saying in the future it's possible that for each person who owns an autonomous agent, there's some very clear-cut mathematical policy registered on a smart contract for that agent to abide when they do payments. But also, if you want to be more flexible with it, there might be an infrastructure layer that some may build, or maybe even before that happens, simply implement a rules engine locally wherever your agent is running, such that you can prescribe the rules of what to do and what not to do in text, such that it is much more strict on what your agent should do with your money.
Yeah, I'll take the other side of this on, David and Mark.
Tell me.
There are three places in which you can do rule enforcement for like some kind of policy or way of spending, right? There's the harness, like what is the code that is interacting with the LLM that is like producing the tokens to make the tool calls on chain. There's the wallet, and then there's the like protocol that your agent is trying to interact with, right? And I think the thing to keep in mind with AI agents as of today, this may change in the future, but as of today, agents are both, or LLMs really, are both a technical miracle and still kind of dumb. And so I tweeted earlier today because I saw someone put this prompt on Hacker News. I wanted to test it myself. It's if you ask Opus 4.6, like, I want to wash my car. The car wash is 50 meters away. Should I walk or drive? It will tell you to walk, right? Which you're trying to wash your car. You need to bring your car to the car wash, right? Like these things are still actually not that good at reasoning. They're technical miracles, but there's still a long way to go before you want an agent to like have full broad autonomy over your funds, in my opinion. And so that comes into play of like,
I've seen humans saying more stupid things than this one anyway.
but that's like a clear, like, you're not reasoning through the problem. Like you're just like, oh, you're 50 meters away. It's quicker to walk. You should walk. Wait, what about my car? And so I think like the answer today, in my opinion, is like you should have, if you're a developer, you're building an agent, you should have like code enforced policies over what your agent should do. And in fact, I am personally of the opinion that you shouldn't expose arbitrary signing to your agent as of right now. Like what you should do is you should give your agent tools that do the thing you want them to do in like a deterministic way. And so you should have like a trade tool and a swap tool and a send tool and, or an yield tool, rather than a like, okay, agent, now you will go and sign the call data for like a Moonwell deposit for me. Because one, like LLMs do token-based output. Generating arbitrary strings of hex are always going to be lossy because there isn't that much hex that represents the correct call data for Ethereum contracts in most major labs models. And two, if you enable agents to do arbitrary signing, like you open up prompt injection, you open up like so many vectors in which someone can abuse the model. And so while in theory, and I think I agree with them, there's multiple ways that you could approach this. I think pragmatically, the thing to do right now is like enforce rules, set spend limits. There's many ways to do it. You could literally do it in the harness. You could use a smart contract wallet with a policy, as David said. And then you need to kind of be extremely defensive in how you build these systems right now.
So there are many solutions. There's much exploration to do. The centers are there. So I'll kind of conclude with one final question before we open up for a few Q&A. And that is, how do we take all of these amazing standards, ERC 8004? How do we take X402? How do we take the groundwork engineering principles that allow us to build systems that actually work with these protocols and are safe and reliable? How do we maximize the adoption? What is next? What is the next exciting step to this to bringing this out into the ecosystem?
Yeah, I think it's crucial to like contextualize where we are right now in terms of numbers. Now, like we are in Denver, we are like in Web3, and we feel that Web3 is so important. If we look at the numbers, for example, 2004 is now used very actively by 1,000, 2,000 developers, which is around the 5% of Web3 developers in total that are around 40K, which is around the 5% of open source agent builders that are around 600K. You can spot on GitHub around 1.2 million repos. So it's around, it's an estimation, but it's around 700K. So it's the 5% of the 5%. And then, well, there are like developers of agent in general, but also like don't use GitHub in general. So the big question is, what's the selling point? Why what we discussed in this panel is relevant for a non-Web3 developer? That's what like, and we have strong answers. X402, it's clear. So micropayments, they are just not doable with credit cards and with other technologies. You can really do micropayments for free. And that's just something breaking new. And second, you have a logical, unified way to ask for payments, which is global. It's like a function. It's clearly better for agents. 8004, for the first time, you can come up with a shared catalog. This enables any company to create their marketplace. It's just you couldn't do this in other ways. So that's to me like the challenge. So move from this, of course, excitement that starts from Web3 to the wider space. Well, we have also a precise roadmap for 8004 for the next month, but maybe Davide can share.
I think it's a path. Like Mark also like highlighted that it's like probably like a long road, and we can go very far. Like we're just starting. I think maybe like thinking back 10 months ago, like I think X402 was barely live, not even, and 8004 was just like not even in our brains. So I think we've come a long way already. Like and there is a long way to go. I feel that right now, like there is two things which I think they're very exciting and hopeful. Like in Web3, actually most of the attention and the excitement for everyone, like even people that were not AI developers, is around like building agents. Like agent engineering is the new thing. And then on the AI side, like we see opening both from like the AI researchers and also builders to like the fact that, hey, like for these agent networks, we may need some new platforms that we don't have in our lab. And so like that's probably exciting part for me.
Sounds like lots of adoption might come from these Web2 people coming in and adopting as well. It's not just coming from us.
Yeah, I completely agree. I gave a talk on exactly this yesterday, and so I'll like summarize the talk. But if you want to go listen to it, it's on YouTube. I think that crypto has real value that it brings to these problems, and that crypto have been thinking about decentralized reputation and identity and movement of funds for much longer than really any other group of technologists have. And there's real advantages to using crypto to solve problems that are emerging with agents. Like an agent can't pay right now for most things, right? API keys are still prevalent everywhere. Clearly, stablecoins are a better way to pay for things than credit card on file plus API key in an era of agents. Identity, discovery, all these things. Like there are many, many aspects of crypto that I think are absolutely primed to make the leap and cross the chasm into like real utility for an audience of people who have never done crypto before. And I suspect for most of those people, they won't even realize they're interacting with a blockchain, right? Like we as people in the crypto industry are obsessed with these blockchain concepts. Most of these people will never know that they are secretly using like this crazy technology that has been developed over the last 16 years or so. But we're also in kind of an era where agents are the new browser to a large degree, in that they're like kind of the new interaction model for most people on the internet. And we're in a moment where we can choose like the open source, open standards, World Wide Web path, or we can choose the AOL path, right? And like I'm too young to remember AOL really, but you know, the AOL was kind of like walled garden, permissioned, you know, you have to go and do a BD deal with them to get listed. Sounds fairly familiar to the current AI crop if you're, you know, paying attention. Or you get a set of open standards, and anyone who implements those standards gets my hope really is that what we can do is have more flowers bloom outside of the walled garden than within the walled garden. So that's kind of my like buzz line right now.
Beautifully said. All right. I know we're out of time. So, Marco, Erik, David, it was a pleasure having you. If you have any questions, the people are hopefully staying around for a little bit. So
Yes.
we'll be out and
Thank you,
about.
everybody.
Please find us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.